Hello everybody, and today we are going to be checking out a scenario where civilization restarts. If you don't know what if civilization started over is, or like WICSO, then go watch this YouTuber called Adis Pro. He has a series exactly like this, and this is where I'm getting my inspiration. But basically, all you need to know is that civilization, like countries as we know them, are restarted, and they are going to settle down in a new place, and the countries are represented by colors. And I'm going to start mine over here in India. Because usually when you think of India, you think of like dominance or like colonialism from outside powers, and maybe we'll be able to actually establish a powerful state that will be able to hold its own when eventually there will be strong European powers. But here's kind of how it's going to go. People are going to come here from like Central Eastern Africa, and they're going to cross over into the Middle East, but instead of settling down in Mesopotamia like they did in real life, they're going to be going across the Persian Gulf and settling right down over here in this peninsula in India. They're going to settle down right here, and they are going to start to explore the areas around them. Also, gray means undiscovered, and white means like discovered slash like you've seen it, but basically it's what they know exists, and they are going to be able to create a very nice home base, and they're just going to make that home base into a country. So this is our first civilization, basically. I don't know if I'm actually going to remember this, but this is the pixel where civilization started. And this civilization is quickly going to be very big because the white area it's kind of like the Big Bang, you know? It was all very focused, but then it went, and that's kind of like with the people. All of the people were here, and then like a Big Bang thing happened, and now they're all spreading out through this peninsula, which the red team has now gotten the ability to discover the entire thing. And once they do that, they're going to conquer a lot of the southern coastal areas, going inland to the more... I actually don't really know the geography of this area, so we're just going to say that this is a very nice, lush area. So they're going to start to expand up north, and with their civilization starting to grow more powerful and stronger, they're going to be able to explore a lot quicker, going down the southern coastline and more inland into India, as well as going up the Persian Gulf, such like the Indian Sea. I think the Persian Gulf is like here, but like I think this is the Indian Sea. No matter though, they are going to keep going inland, and eventually they're going to establish a like sphere of knowing that looks a little something like that, and their civilization is going to start to expand up, following along mainly the Persian areas, or like the Indian Sea areas, instead of going south. But there is a faction inside the red team that wants to go south. So this government is going to be an oligarchy. And if you don't know what an oligarchy is, basically in simple, it is where the country has a lot of leaders that are a part of a very high elitist class. So there are like 7 or 8 delegates that represent the entire country and make decisions for them. But one of the delegates, a part of this oligarchy, are going to be like, yeah, we want to go down south. We want to go discover what's down here. Maybe it could be prosperous. But then the other 7 oligarchs are like, yeah, we're going to go this way, actually. So that one oligarch is going to form a very large kind of like branch in the government that wants to go south. And eventually, that branch of government is going to start to rally a good amount of the people. And then they are going to start to go south without the permission of the rest of the oligarchs. And eventually, these explorers are going to start to turn into the citizens of a new country. And the red team, along with the oligarch that led this campaign, is going to go south as well, and they're going to form, I guess, like an aristocracy. And of course, if you need an aristocracy, then you also need a nation. So we are going to see the Blue Nation forming. Basically, this is made up of the oligarch who now has a family here, and that family is going to represent the aristocracy that rules over the country. And they're going to be very prosperous, but they're also going to be very good at exploring, as, like I said earlier, most of the citizens inhabiting this area were explorers, and they're just going to continue to go south, kind of as an insult to the oligarchical Northern Red Team. But eventually, elections are going to be held, well, not like elections, but like the 7 oligarchs remaining are going to choose a brand new oligarch to fill this guy's place, and they're going to find one, and now all 8 of the oligarchs are going to be in favor of going west, in which they're going to do that. So yeah, we've kind of have a Western Indian base of civilization. Now, it's a very small portion of the world, granted, but, you know, they're getting there. So the blue team is now going to start to explore more south, but there is a plateau here which encompasses like a little bit like that. So once they get onto that plateau, they're very easily going to be able to go into the inner areas, but it does get pretty hot, so they're going to avoid a lot of that. But their choices to go south are not going to be in vain, as they are going to expand their country to become more of a coastal kind of like empire compared to the red team. And compared to the red team, I would actually say that they're bigger. But now the red team is going to be a little hypocritical, as they're going to expand down south to try and combat the blue team's growing influence. But as well, they're also going to be heading up north. Eventually, the explorers are going to become tired, and after they are done exploring a good chunk of these Persian areas, they are going to return back to the red team, where they're going to show like a whole bunch of like drawings that they made, or like what they describe the geography as. And the red team's like, yeah, we don't really care about that, we're just going to conquer it. And the explorers are pretty mad, because they collected that like information, and that information was very hard for them to obtain. So as a result of the oligarchy not really representing the explorers and not showing their information and not using it, they are going to break away. So this is, yes, it's like a civil war, but it's not really going to be as bloody as like civil wars nowadays. This is mainly going to be small factions inside of these areas that are just going to band together, not with like violent arms, but it is just going to be this area collectively saying, hey, we don't really want to be a part of you anymore. And the oligarchy really has no choice, because the only form of military at the moment is the Capital Guard, which is not going to go like 100 miles just to fight some like stupid rebels. So eventually the red team is going to be forced to let it go, but then they're going to take some of the explorers that they were able to keep and some of the explorers that were loyal to the oligarchy, and they're going to be sent inward. But the purple team is actually going to prosper massively, as the people that established the country were those explorers, and those explorers are going to take this information that they find about this area, and they're going to use it to maximize the prosperity of their country. For example, this area, if they colonize it, they're going to be able to encompass a lot of riverbanks and all of that good stuff, and they're going to be able to make a massive kind of like trading network inside of them, and that is going to be able to allow their civilization to prosper. Now going back to the blue team, they are going to have a lot of success going down south, reaching the very tip of India, and eventually they are going to acquire the equipment that is going to allow them to conquer the areas no matter if there is a plateau there or not. And the blue team is becoming quite prosperous, as they're now able to discover the entirety of Sri Lanka and establish a northern claim over it. And the red team is going to realize something, that they are kind of they're a crappy country, because two of the countries that split away from you are actually doing a lot better than you. And that's most likely because of their government and how it's situated. This is an aristocracy, and aristocracies are very lean towards a small privileged class, but that's still a lot better than an oligarchy. And these guys are just like a collective kind of like hunter-gatherer civilization. Now, I'm not saying that they're like barbarians and they're going out and like hunting food and they're eating it raw. No, they're just like, it's kind of like the people. So it's like anarchy, but it's good. It's like controlled anarchy, you know? There is a people government, and the civilians make up the government, and they rotate every couple of months. But the red team is going to attempt to get out of their depression, as they're actually going to find a river basin that extends a lot more far north than they thought. They're going to start to expand up following, well, what is the Indus River, and they're going to be able to find its end. Of course, it is going to branch out, so they are going to find all of the little branches and the valleys that they encompass. And the red team is going to be absolutely thrilled, as they have now found a very good source of economy, being the Indus River Valley. They're going to expand up, but not too far, as if it looked like this, that would be like weird. But they're going to form a slight spearhead, so the government has control over a good portion of the south of the Indus River. But the blue team, they are just nonchalant, and they're going to be able to go towards these southern areas, going up the coastline, getting close to Bangladesh. And eventually, they're actually going to partner up with the red team, in which they are going to be able to discover this area together, because they are best friends. Just kidding, they are mortal enemies. But the red team is going to specifically care about the northern areas of the kind of section that them and the blue team are going to try and discover, as they are going to take all of this for themselves and is going to fall under the control of the oligarchy. But something is going to happen. We're going to see an exploration group is going to start to go up into Bangladesh, and they're going to get lost. They're like, wait, where the hell are we? And eventually, there is going to be a man that rises up, And in a state of emergency, they're going to be like, yeah, we're just going to settle right here and copy the blue team's form of government. And yeah, this is like an exploration group that got lost from the blue team. So now they're just going to establish a new country. And, you know, any sane person would do that. Don't even question it. But this area also has a lot of river banks, so they are going to be able to colonize it quite well. Like their blue team perpetrators, they are going to be able to colonize a lot of this coastal area. And yeah, this goes pretty successfully for them. And now they're going to be able to assist the blue team and the red team in discovering this little, like, bulb that was, like, sticking out. And yeah, civilization is looking quite nice. I can tell this is going to make a very nice looking thumbnail. But once the aristocracy is going to be able to get ratification from the people government, if you didn't know, the blue team has kind of like two branches of government. It's not really like something we've seen in history. There is, of course, an aristocracy. The aristocracy is the privileged high-class nobles, like a very small family in this case, which was the original oligarch that broke away from the red team. But the other branch is a people's government. And the people government is going to be elected by, well, elected people from the common civilians. I don't know if any of that made sense, but all you need to know is that it is a common folk of government that is going to be the people that is going to switch out every couple of months, so it is equal and fair. And the blue team is going to be able to expand very swiftly into southern India, and the red team is going to be able to form a border with them. Now, interactions with them, they're actually pretty friendly. But something we are going to need to establish in this world is capitals, where the government functions. So let's do that. The red team's capital is going to be right on over here. The blue team's capital is going to be right, let's put it right here, because that's where the original country formed. These guys are going to put theirs right here, right where they settled down as the green team. And the purple team is going to put theirs right on over here, as far away from the red team as they could. And speaking of the purple team, they are actually going to be pretty massive chads, as they're going to go over here to the Persian Gulf, and they're going to be able to discover a lot of the outside areas, kind of encompassing the southwestern area of the Persian Gulf. Or no, sorry, like southeast. Sorry, my voice is very raspy right now, because I've been talking a lot with undisturbed breaths, and if you didn't know, that hurts. But they're going to be able to follow along the coastline here, and they're going to be able to get to these areas, and they're going to discover the UAE, kind of like peninsular area, and they're going to establish the first sort of colony in the civilization. Now, if you notice, all of these guys are mainlands instead of like this in Sri Lanka, that is mainly a trading colony. So I guess this is going to be the second colony in our civilization, but it is going to be right on over here in the UAE, where they're going to take mainly the coastal areas, and, you know, they're going to be able to trade back and forth quite well between them and the mainland. Yeah? Yo, look at this civilization, man. Oh, look at the civilization. Hi, guys. This is Jude. Do you want to be on the video? Yeah. This is Jude. You'll see him sometimes because he barges in. All right, you're done. Shoo. You're not important anymore. Close the door. I love you, Jude. All right, yeah, that was Jude. But what was I saying? Oh, yeah. The purple team is going to be able to move their forces down south and start to, I guess, like, explore this, like, Omani area. And their colony, even though it's the second colony, is going to expand to be pretty massive, going along the coastal areas. And the red team is pretty jealous of the purple team. And, you know, long-scale naval travel, that is not a thing right now. Because as far as they can travel at the moment, it's like this far. So, you know, like getting to Sri Lanka for the blue team at the time was a pretty massive feat. And the purple team and the blue team are probably both struggling with each other for the most powerful navy. Not saying that they're like hostile relations. It's just kind of like a, I'm better. No, I'm better. But now the green team is going to start to go down south. And the green team is actually going to ensue a policy of mass expansion and nationalism, which they're able to use to their advantage. Kind of why they, you know, incited that policy. But the dark green team is going to be able to expand up north. But we're actually going to be seeing a new country appear. And this is just going to be a country where people are like, yeah, let's form a civilization because we're cool. And they're going to be right on over here. And this is going to be like the Central Eastern Indian team. And their capital, I don't know if you can really see it, but it's going to be right there. I'm going to rewatch the footage of, like, the edited footage on my phone. And I'm going to see if you guys can see that. Because, I can see it, but I'm not sure if you guys can. But we're going to see them moving inland. And this is going to be very, apparent for the blue team. Because the blue team was kind of wanting to take over this area. But, you know, if you don't ask, you don't get. and they didn't ask, and so they're not getting. But the blue team is pretty massive. They're the largest country in the world so far, and there's going to be a scramble for India. Now, it seems, pretty early on for a scramble to happen, but it's actually going to be a pretty diplomatic way of formulating out these areas. So now we can take a look at the red team's claim. Now, the red team is going to go ahead and claim a lot of these central areas, and no one's really opposed to that, so they're going to be able to keep it. The blue team is pretty fricked because, well, they're not able to really take much, so they take this. The yellow team is going to get a surprising amount of land, now taking a lot of this area, and the green team is just going to go ahead and finish off the northeastern quadrant. The red team gets this, the green team gets this, the blue team gets this, and the yellow team is going to get this. So now we have a divided up India. And with this, the blue team is going to feel pretty secluded because them and the yellow team are like, we can't really expand other than Sri Lanka. But we just conquered the entirety of Sri Lanka. So, now what? What do we do? But that's not really the red team or green team's problem. Oh my god, did you hear that voice crack? I'm not sure if it was just my head, but jeez. As you can see, I did unconsciously as the purple team is going to expand a little bit into Persia. Also, in my previous WICSO, there was a purple Persia that was here. And yeah, I like saying purple Persia, so that's why these guys are purple. But the final event in our video is going to be the green team is going to start to fixate their focuses right on over here towards Myanmar, Burma, and they're going to go down the coastal areas, now getting their exploring forces all the way down here to the southern tip of Burma. Now, the purple team was a rebellious group away from the red team, and yeah, they're going to be continuing their colonial pursuits over here in Arabia. They're going to continue to send their exploration forces into Arabia, now starting to go down the southern coast of Oman and starting to get into the more deserty areas of the Arabian Peninsula. And they are inevitably going to expand their colony inwards, following along the coastline of the UAE and going down the south coast of Oman. But there is a big faction inside of the colony who does not really want to be a part of the purple team. And we are actually going to see our first violent war occurring in our series. This is going to be a war of independence, with an orange clan rising up inside of the purple team, with many spots around the colony, linking together to form a greater front for the purple team to handle. With these fronts linking up, we see that their original area of their colony, which is probably the most developed area, is going to be secluded from the rest of the colony, and it's going to be pummeled by the orange team. Eventually, after a very grueling couple of days, they are going to be pushed off of the peninsula, and the rebellion is going to be given its independence. And when you're given independence, you need a place for your government to function, and I think it would be pretty cool if it was established right where the purple team colony was, first made. So yeah, now we have a brand new civilization right over here in Arabia, and these guys are going to keep doing the exact same thing that the purple team did. I'm not saying that they broke away because the purple team was expanding so much. I'm just saying that, they're expanding. But with their base of operations being in Arabia, they're a lot more capable of expanding into Arabia, now even establishing their own colony here in Qatar, but that is soon linked up with the mainland, and they're able to explore more of eastern Arabia. But going down over here to Myanmar, in the last episode at the end, we saw the dark green team was able to focus their policies and endeavors over here on discovering a lot of Southeast Asia. And they're going to continue to pursue that as they're going to send their forces down and colonizing forces after their discovery forces, their discovering forces came back, and they are going to reach this tip over here in Myanmar. And after they get here, there is going to be a group of people that is going to shoot across the peninsula, going over to this Vietnamese Gulf, or I don't really know what this body of water is called, but they're going to be able to puncture right through the unexplored territory, now linking up with this sea. And we see they're going to go up north, so now they're going to go down this peninsula and discover this island. Eventually, trade networks are going to be established through the known about land, and that is going to cause them to start to explore more of it, with a group going north and south, within the trade work. And this is also where we see the appearance of a new country. A group of people is going to see this as the perfect opportunity for them to go over here with the purpose of, like trading and stuff. But then they're just going to go ahead and fight against the pro-green team settlers, and they're going to go ahead and rally the people, so now they have their own country. It is going to be established right over here in this southern island, and the green team's like, yeah, we would have totally just given you independence. You could have just asked, and we'd have held a referendum. But the pink team is just violent, and they wanted to get their independence their way, so to kind of show a sense of nationality in their new country, so it could get a little bit of a head start when they are in their earlier ages of expanding. They're going to be able to expand more into the north, but their main goal is to conquer these areas so they can get over from the green team to their country, and they're going to be able to put sow the seeds of their potential to do that, as now they link over to this area and they could go over here. It would just be really expensive. But new country, new capital, and it is going to be right over here near the base of this peninsula. But the green team is going to attempt to link up with this new pink country, but that is going to go very poorly for them, as a new country, or I guess kind of like a rebellion, is going to take a hold from the green team, and that is going to be a lime team. This lime rebellion is going to break out over here in the main areas where the green team has most recently expanded into, and they are able to form a solidary front, now linking up all of their different pockets and pushing the green team mainly out of the Burmese area. And the green team is pretty weak against this rebellion. The purple team, at least they were able to hold out a little bit with these orange guys, but the green team is not able to hold their own with this, and eventually they're going to be forced to spit out this lime team on their own terms, and their terms is that they take everything all the way up to here, and their brand new capital is going to be right here where the rebellion started, kind of like there. So yeah, we are seeing the appearance of a lot of new countries, but you might be noticing a little excursion over here, and that is because the red team was able to discover that the Indus River was going a lot more north than they thought. So they're going to expand along the Indus River, now getting to the greater branches and valleys that the river creates. And they're going to be able to go farther north, now pushing up against the Himalayas, which they're, obviously not able to conquer. But they are able to conquer a lot of these areas, which are kind of just pushing up against the known territories, which they have just recently discovered. Yeah, the red team is looking quite chunky. But there's going to be a group of people, this is a reoccurring thing, but there's going to be a group of people inside of the red team that's we don't want to be a part of this civilization, so they are going to form the Indus River Valley civilization. This civilization is prominently made of the territory that the red team has just recently gained, and it's actually going to spearhead all the way down here to the coastline. And you might be wondering, why is the red team, not defending against this rebellion? Well, of course they're defending against it. They're able to push back their spearhead to the coastline, but it is also very costly when it comes to the troops that they are forced to sacrifice. So eventually they're going to be pushed all the way back to here, and a new country is born, and its capital is going to be right on over here near the most prosperous area of the Indus River. And they're going to expand, gaining a very friendly relationship with the purple team. They're bound to be friendly because they're both breakaways from the red team, so they have a lot of common, mostly being a common rival, not really enemy. But with Persia losing their claims over here in Arabia, they're going to go. They're going to be forced to go north if they want to expand their country, and they are going to go north. They're going to go into the central Persian areas, almost getting to the Afghan areas, and they're going to go far up the Persian Gulf, now actually discovering the entire thing with the help of the orange country. And the purple team is going to be able to expand massively, and a lot of people are like, how are you doing this? You're really big. You just became probably bigger than the red team. Well, now I know they're bigger than the red team. I mean, look at them. They're freaking massive. But being really big comes at a really big cost, which is, susceptibility to rebellion. Susceptibility to rebellions. And a rebellion is going to break out over here, taking a lot of the western areas of their country. These guys are going to have their capital here, and the purple team is kind of just going to be yeah, you guys can have your independence. And I promise that's the last rebellion, because there have been three, I think. You have the lime team. Oh my god. Looks you have the lime team. The pink team, to an extent, was kind of a rebellion. You have the other pink team and the orange team. That is a lot of rebellions, and most of them come from the countries that we thought were greater powers, including the red team with the Indus country. But this light pink country is going to have a goal of conquering the entire Persian Gulf so they can establish trade networks and so they can be the richest in the world. You know, it's pretty rambunctious, but you know what? You go for it. You can do it. I believe in you. Well, anyways, they're going to get up here to the, I guess, like the very north of the Gulf, and they're actually going to settle down right here, moving a lot of their population out here so they can establish these areas because they just found some very important rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates. Humanity has now finally gotten to Mesopotamia. It took long enough. But the pink team is going to be very lucky as they are going to be able to find the value in both of these rivers, and they're going to find a massive Mesopotamian river valley right over here in the center of Arabia. Eventually, they're going to spearhead up, and they're actually going to do something very frowned upon in this time, and it hasn't been done yet, but they're actually just going to expand up here, and they're going to move their capital right over here to these Mesopotamian areas. And now, that was a really stupid move because now you have probably like the longest distance between your easternmost point and your capital, so like, why did you do that? But pretty funky looking country. But we're not here to discriminate the size and shapes of countries, but a mass amount of area is going to be explored here, with a group now going up here to the Caspian Sea, discovering it and like exploring the south. I don't know why my voice keeps like cutting off. That's not even something like in post. There's nothing wrong with OBS. My voice just not working. But now the pink team is going to send some more of their colonizers up here to try and get to the Caspian Sea, but they are forced to stop because, well, look at them, they're pretty freaking big. But they're also going to start to send an exploration group over here to try and reach contact with the Mediterranean. And civilization seems to have their interests over here in the west, but don't worry, there is still a whole bunch of exploration going on over here in the east. This pink country, yeah, they're definitely not going to do anything. They're going to take this opportunity because all of this is very valuable land. You know, you have the Yellow River and like the Yangtze. I'm not sure if that's actually where they derive. And they're going to expand up north. And there is actually something they're going to ensue. They're going to ensue a policy of being nomadic. This like trans-subcontinental like trade route, yeah, they're not about that anymore. They are more about getting to the Yangtze River Valley areas, and they're going to be able to do that just fine. It's just that when they eventually do get there and explore it, they are going to, you know, colonize the areas around it. You know, who wouldn't? Very prosperous area. So they're going to go right on up, and my voice isn't working again. Like the light pink country, they're going to move their capital here to the base of the Yangtze, or the yellow, I'm still not quite sure. And they are going to release this dark blue country right here. And these guys, I guess they're going to be like South China. And they are going to discover and colonize the entirety of Taiwan. And their capital is going to be in the same area that the pink team's capital was. Alright, so this is pretty cool. We have these civilizations linking up with each other and now actually forming a pretty big sphere of, you know, like knowing. Like they know a lot of things. They know like the shape of the world vaguely. And like, actually, let me just show you what they know of, because I know that is something that It Is Pro did. And yeah. So this is just about what they think the world looks like. So like according to them, it could be a little bit like that, and like this could probably go up all the way around here. And then this could be like a little island, and then now they know about all of this. But then this could extend up far north, and then that could also link up here. So this is what they think the entire world looks like. Once again, this could be like its entire other thing. So this is like what the best cartographers think the world looks like at the moment. And as you can see, it's very different. There is a lot more world. So in an effort to try and discover the rest of the world, the orange team is just going to go ahead and start to colonize more land. This doesn't immediately translate to more, you know, exploration. It's just good for them. But we are going to be seeing one more event happening in this video, and it's going to be a group of people that is going to go out from the light pink country. They're going to go up all the way here to the Turkish areas. They're going to get to the Black Sea, and eventually they are going to establish themselves here in northern Turkey. This was actually a group of people that came over from the east of their country. They were very mad about the politics, and now they're going to settle down right here in northern Turkey. Capital-wise, theirs is going to be right on over here. And these guys are the catalyst to European exploration, as now they are in the Turkish peninsula. So with a little bit more expanding, they're going to be able to reach down and be the first country to make contact with the Mediterranean Sea. And that is going to be pretty major, because the light pink countries, like, yeah, maybe we'll, like, you know, shoot over here, and then we'll go to the, you know, Caspian, and then we'll have a whole bunch of revolts here. Brown team is a very interesting country because they were an exploration group like a lot of these other countries were. Like, the pink team was kind of an exploration group, but also like the purple team was. They're like purely an exploration group. But these guys went a lot farther than them. And what makes these guys so special is that they were some of the highest ranking explorers in the world at this point. I mean, they went across the entirety of Arabia. I would say it's pretty impressive. But I would actually like to show you guys something I made just now. It is the religion map. Now, the religion map is not going to be very useful at the moment, but you can see that there is the red religion. If I just actually turn down the opacity really here, you can kind of see it a little bit better. So here you have like the original red team religion, including the dark red country, the red country, and the blue country. And then there's this blue religion that's kind of like the green team derived countries. And it splits over here in China because that's where the pink team kind of came into play. But they're not really colored based off of the country that started it. More colored because it looks nice, that color. And this is the light red religion, kind of branching off from the beliefs that the original red team religion was kind of, you know, having. But I just thought that would be a pretty interesting thing for us to incorporate in the future. But going back over here to the brown team, they are going to be a key factor in exploring westward into the Anatolian areas, where they're going to explore a lot in the south. They're sending their divisions in the south, but as well as the center, but that's where it's a little bit more mountainous. And then they're going to expand, establishing some trade colonies and internal networks along the Mediterranean. And after a few more years, they are going to end up looking a little something like this. So with more exploration in Anatolia, they are going to, I can't talk. They are going to pair up with the pink team so they can explore some more of these, like, these areas, like Canaan. So the brown team is going to start to send their divisions, but then the pink team is going to follow the Tigris and Euphrates River all the way about to here, and then they're just going to go southwest until they hit this area, which they are going to start to explore. And eventually these guys are going to get down, but then they're going to go east, because their navigators are like, yeah, these guys, we're going to have a little rendezvous with them if we go east, and that's what we want. So they are going to meet up, and they go a little bit more down the Canaan areas. And now we have this big old chunk of unexplored land, which soon enough is explored. And the brown team is going to have no trouble establishing a big colony in the Phoenician areas. But the pink team has a little bit of a problem. They are getting very big. And in the last episode, I also said that they were seeking to expand their country up here to the Caspian Sea, which they are actually going to successfully do. But they're going to make a very big mistake. They are going to set a lot of their focuses up here on the Caspian Sea. Now this is not good because you promised your people that you would want to expand towards all of these areas, and you're kind of only focusing on one. So it's kind of like you're not keeping your promise. And like today in 2025, that wouldn't be really too much of a big deal, like politicians. But this is like where people are really like trying to decide whether like they like their leaders or not. So after a couple of taxations among the people that are living over here in Mesopotamia, the people over here in the Caspian areas are going to be like, yeah, this is a little, yeah, we don't like this. So we are going to see a rebellion popping up over here in the Caspian. Now, it's not very big. Oh, there's like another pocket. Pink team, you might want to get on top of this because now they've just kind of taken all of your previously annexed Caspian areas. Oh, and now they're going down. This cannot end good for the pink team. Oh, yep. That works too. This is a little ironic. It's all kind of like hitting the fan, isn't it? Oh, and now the purple team is here. Right. So, the pink team might be royally fricked. Also, the lighter purple, that represents, like, the purple team's troop colors. So this might actually be a little bit better of a color to represent that. Purple team is going to declare that the pink team is a big, bad expansionist state, and they're just going to stop that by being a big, bad expansionist state. So, you know, you win some, you lose some. But this lime yellow rebellion, or I guess like seafoam green, if I take a page from Ada's prose book, they are going to take the rest of the east. They're like, yeah, we got this. And they're going to start to expand up the Persian Gulf. What the? But the pink team, they still have an army. Their army is like the second largest in the entire world. So they're going to be able to put up a good fight against the rebels. But then the gold team is like, yeah, we're just going to take this chance. And we're just going to, you know, do something a little bit insane. Try and go down to the Persian Gulf. And that would theoretically split the pink team into two. So, like, the lime rebellion can take this, and we can maybe theoretically take the rest of this. So they get down here, and they come across a very big city here. And the battle for that city actually goes towards the gold team's favor, with a very small strip of land now connecting both sides, where a lot of military is going to be evacuated to the west, in which case the lime rebellion is just going to take the rest of this. They meet up with the Persian Gulf, and eventually all of the pink team's military assets rest right here. But the final nail in the coffin for the pink team is going to be a uprising staged in their capital. They're like, yeah, the pink team, we're not liking it. We don't like the pink team. So we're just going to go ahead and help the rebels. So yeah, major population centers on the coast of Kuwait are going to start to break away and side with the rebellion. And eventually, yeah, they kind of get a little bit screwed. And eventually the gold team is just going to kind of invade them a little bit. But like, don't worry. But now we can take a look at a peace treaty that will divide up pretty much the entirety of the light pink team. Alright, and this is what we see our peace treaty looking like. We see over here, let's start over here in the east. We see the purple team gaining a good chunk of land from the light pink team, since their military involvement did acquire them a good amount of territory. The seafoam green country will be given their independence, along with the gold country over here in the Caspian. And now there's a big old line creating this new country right here. And now all of these guys need their capitals. So let's just make those real quick. That big decisive major city that kind of decided the turning point of the war, that will be the capital of the Seafoam Green country. These guys will have their capital over here in Kuwait. And these guys up here near the Caspian Sea. And I think I'm actually going to shift these colors. I just don't really like how this looks. Actually, you know what? How about teal, and then we'll get like a little bit lighter of a gold. Alright, you know what? That's good. I like that. But next, we're going to be going over here to Eastern Asia. Eastern Asia has been heavily explored and conquered by the Chinese civilizations, including the dark blue team and the pink team. And they are going to team up to try and explore a bulk of these Chinese areas. So up here to God, I need to learn my Chinese geography. This is kind of embarrassing. But eventually the pink team is going to find themselves exploring and conquering a lot of these northern Chinese areas, going into this peninsula and even making the longest ever boat travel, which is like from here to here. And they are going to be landing over here in Korea. More explorers are going to be going around the Yellow Sea. I'm not quite sure what this is called. Once again, I need to brush up on my Chinese geography. And they're also going to expand inwards, now taking a lot of the Yangtze River Valley along with the Yellow River. And we have a healthy amount of exploration occurring over here in China. Now, just some very small things. We see the lime team and the dark blue team also teaming up to go into these areas kind of by the Himalayas, though I am not 100% sure. I think the Himalayas are like this, so maybe a little bit east, but yeah. But next we're going to go over here to the orange country. The orange country, they're pretty interesting because, well, let me take you back like 2 episodes to the first episode, where the purple team broke away from the red team, and in the last episode we saw the orange team break away from the purple team. So it's kind of like the oppressors breaking away from the oppressors who were oppressed by oppressors. So that means that tensions are pretty high between the orange and purple teams, and that makes the orange team and the red team good friends. Also, guys, tell me, should I do like a civilization live? Maybe make some like major cities and just like chill? I think that would be pretty cool. But anyways, focusing back on the video, we see the orange team going in here to the south, now reaching the eastern strait of Djibouti. And of course, with exploration then comes expansion, when they're going to go down here on the southern coast, now bulking out their territory and becoming a very prominent Arabian state. But going up here to the light pink team, they might be distraught from this little thing, but they are still going to be looking towards the future, partnering up with the brown team to go into more of these Arabian areas, But now the brown team is a little more hesitant because the light pink team is definitely not as strong as they were. In the end, explored territory in the Middle East looks like this, and the brown team is going to send their explorers down here to the Sinai Peninsula. I was in Israel, I think, maybe a couple months ago, and I was in Tel Aviv. And in Tel Aviv, we were there June 13th, so that's when Israel declared war on Iran. And there were a lot of bombs coming, and there were like bomb shelters. And turns out, surprise, surprise, all the airports were, who could have guessed, closed. So we had to drive all the way from Tel Aviv here to Sharm el-Sheikh, where we took a plane out. But if you're wondering, there's nothing in the Sinai Peninsula. There's like literally nothing. But now the brown team is going to send their explorers over here to the Nile River. Now they find the Nile River basin, and they're like, yeah, they're going to immediately start to profit on the Nile River basin. And once they explore and conquer down here into Israel, they're going to set up the farthest away colony that has ever been established in this world, being right over here, very tiny over here in the Nile River basin. But it is going to grow fast going along the coast and being very expansive. And eventually it's just going to link up with the mainland. And this is a lot of territory, so they're going to need maybe like an episode or two to assimilate all of this. But the brown team is doing very nicely in terms of economy, expansion, and even stability. But the pink team, they have not learned their lesson. They're going to go out here, and they're going to pursue their original policy of expanding along the Tigris and the Euphrates. But at this point, they've kind of just taken a policy of going here to more of the like valley areas. But yeah, with the increased exploration in Arabia, we are going to go back over here to the old world. The red team is going to do a little bit of expansion because if I remember correctly, I remarked that the Himalayas were somewhere here, and the red team is now going to send their exploration forces up, and they're officially going to press up against it. That means that probably for the next couple thousand years, they're not going to have the correctly suited equipment to go in here to the Himalayas. So they're going to expand their territory up here, kind of just for no reason. There's not really a reason to be conquering this land. But the green team is going to go up, but they have a little bit more success as I believe that there is a river running through somewhere here. So the green team is going to prosper off that. Now kind of just following that river until they just get to explored land, in which they're just going to explore that. And they're going to press up against the unexplored territory. And they are going to begin to start to follow this river and create a lot of major settlementations along the river. I just realized I forgot to turn on my light. If you look at my glasses, you can see like the light that I have on. Because if I don't do that, then my face is covered in blue light, and I don't really like that. But yeah, now we have the light. Anyways, we're gonna go over here to Vietnam, where the southern Chinese country is going to send their exploring forces over here into Southeast Asia. Partnering up with the Lime team, they're going to be able to get to the Gulf of Bangkok. Bangkok. And the South Chinese are actually not going to gain as much territory as they wanted from this, and this is because their economy is starting to strain. But the Lime team is going to benefit massively from this. They're going to expand across the coastline of the Gulf of Bangladesh and even reach across here to the Gulf of Bangkok. And yeah, all is looking good for the Lime team. Now, this area kind of got obliterated in the last episode. You saw the dynasty of the light pink team kind of collapsed into 4 states. But that does not deter the brown team from their exploration, as they are going to go deeper and deeper into Arabia. Now, the Arabian desert is dry and sad, so there are no rivers, which means that they will not be able to get a lot of assistance, but they are going to send out a separate division following along this river, and they're going to establish some settlementations along this river. And the brown team is going to have no trouble going here into the Sinai Peninsula, capturing the entire thing, and discovering more and more into the western areas of Arabia, and also down the Nile River, which I thought it was over here, but apparently it is not. It is right here. Also, I made this river map, so it may not be the most accurate. I will probably add a couple rivers if I forgot any, so I know that's not very sustainable for a video with like that's supposed to have continuity, but just give me a break. Come on. It's 9:10 right now, and I have to go on a school tour in a little bit, so things are painful. But we go immediately back here to the light pink team as they are going to conquer the area where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers meet. And now them and the brown team are going to connect up, now establishing networks that are going to weave in and out of each other's country. The pink team also sends a small division to go up north here to conquer some of the areas of this river. But the pink team has a little bit of a monopoly if they own basically the peak of where the river comes, because when you have a river, it goes from a high point all the way down to the ocean. So if you control that high point, you deter how much water comes out, and basically this like reddish pinkish country owns the bed of the river. So they are kind of at the mercy of the pink team since they can deter how much water goes into their country. That was just a little spiel, but they are going to go down the coast of Arabia, now meeting up with the orange team. And now the entirety of the Persian Gulf has been conquered. And we see this new seafoam green Persian state is going to expand up north into more of the Afghan, kind of like more Persian areas. But the real thing over here is that the orange team is going to basically explore the entirety of the south of Arabia. And one of the exploration groups is going to go into this territory to just try and see, like, is there still water here, or is there land? Does it kind of like connect up to what the brown team is exploring? And once they get to the ocean, they really don't feel like taking this path back because it was very not fun because it's a dry Arabian desert. So they're going to go up the coast and down the coast, exploring a little bit more around, and they are going to end up establishing their own nation over here in Western Arabia. This also works out pretty nice because the orange team is a pretty authoritarian, autocratic type government, and they didn't really like the persecutions that the orange team was imposing on them. So now they are going to make themselves their own nation. And this is going to be the final nail in the coffin for complete Arabian exploration. And now they are going to send their forces down here, but then just like a new country is going to pop up right down here. There's not really any lore behind this country, they just kind of pop up for no reason. And they will most likely never be important for the plot. But talking about capitals, if we look at the rivers, there are none here. So they're just going to put them the closest to the ocean that they can. So that's going to look a little something like this. Sorry if my voice does sound a little bit raspy. I don't really know why. But for the final thing happening here in Eastern Arabia, or Western Arabia, is the brown team is going to go and try and connect up with this new dark green country. But with the increased exploration over here in Arabia, we are going to see increased exploration over here in Korea. The Chinese are going to make it their interest to follow along this river, which goes kind of in the Gaodong areas. I think that's what this peninsula is called. But a little bit more west and following the river, they're also going to follow this river, which they're going to conquer the eastern areas of the bed. So it's kind of like our first river border. But then they just kind of screw that, and they're going to follow along this river. They're also going to follow this river, now having the habilitating authority to go ahead and explore South Korea, moving up north, and now finally getting to their other explored territory, now having this entire, I guess, like Gulf explored. And the Chinese are going to make a very small settlement here, but that settlement is going to be very unstable because the Chinese are not really very good at holding on to territory. As you saw, they kind of like made that their policy when they started out down here. And then they just kind of moved north, kind of ignoring their people. So the Koreans are not really going to like that the Chinese are still ensuing this policy when they think that they're just going to abandon them. So as the Chinese just starts to exploit the South Korean colony, now pushing it up against this river and starting a lot of labor-intensive businesses, the Koreans are just going to go ahead and break away, forming a dark purple nation. This nation will be pursuing their exploration under their own jurisdiction. So now they are not under the thumb of the Chinese anymore, but they kind of are because they're like the closest country. But their capital is going to be right here where the Chinese started their settlement, so it's going to look a little something like that. But the Chinese are not going to learn from their mistakes, as when they are done conquering this inland, they're just going to go ahead and make another colony right here. But this one is a lot more stable since these people are a lot more in support of Chinese, conquering, because, living outside of a country is pretty bad. But yeah, that's kind of like our Eastern Asia update. We have a new country and new explored territory. Though going here to the start of civilization, we are going to go to this dark red Indus country, which I just realized is not on the Indus River. So that's my bad. So they're going to expand on the Indus at least, and they are going to explore these areas. Though, like I said, a lot of these areas are mountainous, scary Himalayan mountains, so they're not going to go too far, as they only want to explore this river complex, which is going to be very profitable. Something interesting actually is that they're going to claim some territory that is going to start up some of their brand new business and like colonies. Something interesting about these colonies is that they're not really connected to the mainland, so if you look at this, it's a little strange, but eventually it is just going to connect up to the mainland. And I just realized I really hate how this looks, so let's just go ahead and do something a little bit like this. So now that, let's just say they conquer the valleys, and yeah, now they're happy. We want to know who is not happy: the red team. The red team is going to go along this river, but that's really all they can do. Of course, they're going to go along this river, but eventually the rest of the bed is going to be conquered by the green team, and that was kind of their main incentive when they started expanding north. So the red team is very secluded and sad. So they're going to invade one of their neighbors, and that's actually going to be the blue country. Now, the blue country has been a little interesting over the past couple episodes. They have went into a state of isolationism, and now they are going to be forced to throw hands with the red team. The red team is going to have no problem moving their troops in, as their military is a lot superior than the blue team. I don't know if I said that correctly. The red team military is superior compared to the blue team. And there are also a lot of rivers which the blue team is struggling to, keep a hold of, as the red team is just going to go ahead and plow them. Should really watch my language. I do not want to get demonetized on the new channel. But we're actually going to see a rebellion brewing inside of the blue team, as one is going to appear right on down here in the south, taking the south of India. And this is going to cause Sri Lanka to see the ineffective blue team government, so they are going to go ahead and declare themselves a new state. These guys take everything south of the riverbed, and they're going to stop because the blue team is starting to get a little bit angry because they're starting to collapse. And eventually they're going to be forced to meet in the capital of the red team, and they're going to formulate a peace treaty among the four sides, so I guess like Sri Lanka, South India, the blue team, and the red team. So now we can take a look at that peace treaty. So with the blue team kind of imploding, we see that two countries are going to emerge very victorious from this. We see the red team gaining this, and this new rebellion in the south gaining this, and Sri Lanka getting their independence. But I do think I want to shift the color a bit because it is a little bit ugly. I think that's good. I like that. And they're going to have their capitals, let's see, the rivers. So their capital is going to be here. And these guys are going to have their capital right here in the north. So with the scape of India starting to lean towards the favorability of the red team, they are going to have a little bit of a boost. And this is frightening for the purple team, as they're kind of the red team's main rival. So they're just going to go ahead and try and prove, their superiority over the red team by expanding into these territories, which are not really valuable. You have like this river, but that runs through the red team. So all the territory that they are getting is kind of useless, but they do get up to the kind of tip of this river, which is going to be good because that is the mountaintop of which it derives. So yeah, now you have a source of economy now coming down to your capital. But going over here to western, I guess like Asia, so kind of like Anatolia, we're going to see the brown team finishing off the rest of Turkey and exploring the entire thing, even getting some of the farthest naval travel we've ever seen, with them exploring Crete, these southern islands, and even into Greece. We see landings made in Thrace following along the surrounding rivers, and just in general, this area is pretty nice, so they're going to have no problem exploring into these areas. Now exploring into some of the more Balkan areas, and even getting to the river bed of the Danube. Sorry, my voice is just like not working. I don't know why. It's very confusing. But just new country alert. We have a new one. But they're going to be a big island nation. They're going to claim a lot of these islands and a lot of the ones that surround the mainland, which, theirs is going to be established over here in Greece. But the largest island they're going to take is Crete, as well as taking this large one over here by the Turkish peninsula. And they're going to capture this peninsula. It looks like kind of like a fort. I don't really know how to describe it. And they're going to be heavily allied with the brown team, of which their citizens derived. Their capital is going to be right here. And with the entirety of Anatolia now being discovered, we can see the brown team just kind of moving in to these areas, because this is very takeable land, as there is a mild power to your west, but they have no interest in Anatolia, so you're just going to go ahead and take the entire thing. The surrounding islands as well, and even into Thrace, following along this river, which I have no idea what it is called. But now we see the brown team has made their endeavors here into Europe. But something very bad is going to happen for the brown team, as they are going to experience a rebellion here in their colony I guess not like colony, but like Egyptian areas. And this is going to spark because the brown team is going to discover and conquer the entirety of Cyprus. And yeah, these guys, they feel kind of neglected, so they're just going to go ahead and break away from the brown team. They're going to take areas like this down here in the Sinai Peninsula, even capturing some of the areas of which the brown team was trying to use as a way to get to the dark green country. Speaking of them, they have met up now with the brown team, but it is no longer the brown team, as it is now the banana cream country. But the brown team is going to give these guys their independence, but this is also going to spark a brand new movement inside of the brown team, which is going to cause for a new state to be formed right over here. This rebellion is soon to get their independence as well, and now the brown team has lost a lot of their valuable areas over here in the south of their nation. But these guys, pretty self-explanatory, their capital will be on the Nile River Basin, and these guys will be over here near the Phoenician areas. And yeah, these guys are going to start to go down the Nile River. Korea was a nation that kind of rebelled away from China after China established their colony right here. That birthed Korea, and now Korea is here, primarily in South Korea. But if you look at the rivers map, you're going to be able to see that there are two rivers, and between them is going to be a very big fertilizable valley. But putting my bad English aside, we are going to see the Koreans moving up into North Korea. If you did that in real life, it wouldn't be very good. But these territories here are going to fall under the rule of Korea. And with Korea expanding massively into North Korea and even rivaling Chinese influence, they're going to attempt to bring down their sphere of influence, which at the moment probably just includes like these guys. They are going to make the largest boat exploration in the entire world. Their expedition is going to be from this area over here, like this port, and it's going to go all the way here to Japan. They land in Japan. Of course, this is not very well funded, as Korea is a very poor nation. But China is going to attempt to regain their influence back by one-upping Korea. They're going to make an expedition to get down here to southern Japan, in which their much better equipped and funded exploration forces are going to get here to the southern island. And the difference between both of these countries' colonization forces is that China is actually able to set up a permanent colony. After a good chunk of time, they are going to be able to discover the entire island, now embarrassingly linking up with Korea's exploration areas. But this is going to encourage Korea to send a lot more exploration forces, now moving up eastern into Honshu, and establishing a very small colony. Now, both of these colonies, well, the Chinese one being funded more, they're both have like a median population of like 5,000-6,000. But mainly Chinese explorationists are going to be able to colonize this southern island. Explore the southern island. I don't know why I get those two words mixed up. But with the Chinese trading colony being established in southern Japan, Korea is going to try to fixate their eyes elsewhere. They are going to now send a bulk of their exploration forces up here into the Sakhalese area. Is that how you say it? Wherever they're going, it looks a little something like this as they get to the Strait of Sakhalin, I'm going to assume it's called. And they make a landing and they're able to establish their explored areas here in the north. And of course, with them exploring these areas, they are now going to colonize a lot of these areas. But there is something brewing inside of the Korean country. There is a stark difference between the north and the south of the country. The south country and their county leaders are a lot more urban serving to the more wealthy people, and they are the ones that control the capital. So that means that a bulk of Korea's economy and resources are being fixated on the south. So that's going to lead a lot of farmers in the north to be very upset with the Korean leadership, in which they're going to rebel away to attempt to form their own state. Two pockets arise from this. We see a western one and an eastern one, and these are very easily able to link up with each other. But this rebellion is being led by a prince in this major city right here. But the prince is going to be brought down to the capital of Korea because the king has a proposition. And that proposition is made to the prince of that major city and therefore the leader of the rebellion. The king of Korea has a smoking hot daughter. She is a baddie. And the king is willing to let the prince of the new rebellion marry his daughter if they will join back with Korea. After some not so thorough thinking, they are going to surrender over the rebellion. So now the prince resides in this major city with his baddie. But one thing this does do is that it exposes the Korean corruption to the entire world. And this is going to force them to retract and abandon this colony, with actually a lot of people now forcing it to come under Chinese control. This habilitates China to start a much larger colony over here in southern Japan, and even a small western one here in this little island that I don't know the name of. So this is going to sour relations between Korea and China, but kind of a little bit unrelated. While all of this was happening, China was now moving their conquering forces up here, and they are now going to expand their country, now connecting up with their colony here. And this is mainly so they could control the entrance of this river. I don't know what happened, my voice just didn't work. But they're going to send a lot of their exploration forces up this river, also exploring a lot of the valley areas. Once again, I get those two words mixed up for some reason. But they're going to explore a lot of the valley areas, now conquering a lot more of the riverbed, and now moving up this river. And this Chinese country is very well off, as they have a lot of rivers they could exploit. But moving away from the messy areas in Eastern Asia, we are now going to go over here to Arabia, where there is going to be a big push for exploration and conquering. The green team is going to be the main leader of this campaign, pushing their country out east. And this dark blue one is soon to follow suit, as now they're going to take the rest of the coastal areas and even a little bit inland. And the orange team is going to send in their colonizing forces as well. And now there is going to be a treaty dividing up southern Arabia between these three countries. So let's take a look at what that is going to look like. And this is what we see the division looking like. Once again, this is only southern Arabia, so the dark green team can still have their interests up here according to the treaty. But the orange team will acquire all of these territories, the blue team gaining these territories, and the green team gaining these territories. So now this is what southern Arabia looks like. But this is going to encourage the orange country to now move up into the northern areas of Arabia, as well as the dark green country is also going to move up, and Arabia is becoming increasingly colonized. Now, with increased technology, they are going to be able to overcome the Caucasian mountains, and, not really easily. They're still going to take the easier ways, just getting up the coast. But eventually, a group is going to arrive here in the eastern areas of Crimea, and this is a brown team exploration group. So as they discover the entire Sea of Azov, they will explore the areas around it, now getting a lot better knowledge of the area, and even going down, discovering the rest of the Black Sea. But they're going to establish their own country over here in Crimea. Now, there's not really much the brown team can do about this. We saw the Chinese have a pretty far naval exploration, but that is not going to apply to all countries, as the brown team can really only get out this far, and they're not really able to do much about their lost territories over here in, well, what could have been territories in Crimea. And I might actually make this a little bit lighter, so maybe, yeah, that works. So as these guys are now establishing themselves as a nation, they are going to be needing of a capital, which they are going to put right here on this river. And after establishing their legislative capital, they are now going to expand further out, now making themselves a prominent nation here in Ukraine. But now we're going to see the brown team and the grayish kind of purple country. They are going to team up to go up the Adriatic Sea. But once again, I did say the brown team could go about this far in naval exploration, and they are going to be able to do that, partnering up with Greece and landing here in southern Italy. Greece is going to take this opportunity to expand up here, but that is not going to last for very long, as now the brown team is just going to go ahead and shoot off. Now, this is a pretty messed up move by the brown team, because the Greeks did have as equal cooperation in discovering the entirety of the Balkan areas, so it's a little bit of a mean move. But nonetheless, the brown team is going to expand up, and actually they're going to release a country. This country is going to be a light brown country, and it is going to be a heavily influenced state by, well, the brown team. And their capital will be right over here in Albania. And these guys are basically forced to surrender all of their major population pockets and even their laws that they create. That is all controlled by the brown team. So they have basically quelled the Greek anger and just kind of kept the benefits for themselves. But these guys are going to be the ones that set up the first colony here in Italy. But Greece is also going to send their forces down here to the southern boot, making a colony here in eastern Sicily. Jeez. Next, we are going to go over here to this new cream country, and they are going to partner up with, well, themselves. And they're going to go down the coastline, but they're also going to go down and benefit from these Nile River Valley areas. They're going to get down to where it makes a sharp parallel, so they're not going to follow it anymore. And eventually they're going to expand their country along the base of the Nile River, also establishing their influence over here on the coastline of Egypt, now getting into more of the Sudanese areas, and expanding down further in the Nile. So now we see sort of an Egyptian caliph forming, and they're also going to send their colonizing forces here, and now there is going to be a division of the entirety of this central piece of land. So now we can take a look at what that looks like. Alright, and this is what we see our division looking like, with the most amount of territory being acquired by the dark green country, that followed by the pink country, then the red pink country, then the orange country. Now we go over here to the Egyptian country gaining this, and the green team gaining that, and that is what we see Arabia looking like. A little bit of a speed run, but it is okay. The green team is going to start to expand up north, now taking a lot of these areas in which the pink team was kind of hoping to maintain a connection with the brown team with, but, you win some, you lose some. You got a lot of territory down here, and you lose a little bit of here. It's not really that big of a deal. But we're going to be seeing this kind of like grayish dark green country doing something. I'm just going to call them Caspian country. They're going to go up the coast of Turkmenistan, now reaching this gulf, and they are going to discover the entirety of this gulf. And they're going to start to discover and conquer more of the inland areas, now going further in to the more rugged areas of Central Asia, and sending their colonizing forces to the south of the gulf, now going once again more inland, but this time they're going to be colonizing it. But going away from that, they're going to be exploring these areas around Azerbaijan, and now they're going to be able to conquer the areas around Azerbaijan and Baku. And the Middle East is becoming increasingly explored, and I think there's actually more countries in Arabia than Eastern Asia. But speaking of it, we are going to be going over here to Eastern Asia, and we're going to be seeing a rebellion over here in the southern Chinese country. Remember I said in the last episode, their economy was pretty bust, and this is showing as now there is a brand new country that has broken away from them. Looking at the rivers, these guys are going to plop their capital right here. But now, when they don't have to maintain this area, they can now send their colonizing forces into more of establishing a heavier mainland, becoming a prominent power, now disturbing the influence of the Chinese country. But even though they did disturb that influence, they are going to be able to team up together to try and go into more of these eastern Chinese areas and explore them a little bit further. Going back over here to Italy, we see the entire boot is going to be discovered, but they are going to be stopped by the Alpine Mountains. But that is okay though. With the brown team's funding, this light brown country is going to be able to conquer a lot of these areas, profiting massively. And we even see a brand new country appearing here in eastern Romania. There's not much lore behind this, so yeah, they just kind of appear. And with their settlementation and establishment, they're going to, like a lot of other countries, expand into more of the inland areas and establishing their capital. And if I do believe so, there's the Danube here, yep. So they're just going to make it on the Danube. And that kind of does it with our playing over here in Europe. So look at this map. Tell me what you notice. You could answer like European exploration, maybe Chinese exploration, but something that I would primarily notice is that India has stayed relatively untouched. Except in the last episode, we saw the skirmish over here with the blue team kind of losing a lot of their influence. Other than that, India has remained pretty, dormant. But the red team is going to be doing something. They are going to be disrupting this kind of area of peace, as now they're going to be sending their forces here into the yellow team. Also, do tell me if you want me to do a civilization live, and I would do it. That'd be pretty cool. But their troops are going to pierce through the front lines and their border, as the yellow team has historically been a very weak country. And interestingly enough, they're going to partner up with the blue team, now moving up into the areas of very closeness to the capital. And the red team troops are going to rampage the north, capturing all of the rivers, and the blue team, having established their front line on this river, is going to move past it, and now they're going to meet up with red team troops. But just because they're invading this area together does not mean that the encounter is friendly, but something they can agree on is that they want to divide up the yellow team. So now we can take a look at what that will look like. Alright, and in this peace treaty, we actually see the leader of the red team's hand being twisted a bit, with the blue team gaining a lot more territory than the red team would have hoped. But at the end of the day, they did both gain territory, and it was of a country they both did not share common interest of having good diplomatic relations with.